You remember when you were here last?
I do.
What year was that?
I think it was 2002.
Because we spoke with you then, and you were either in the process of writing this piece.
I think I just heard it.
Or it had just premiered.
Right. Yeah.
But I remember you said something to me, and I think it was as we were leaving, as we were walking out, that has stuck with me, and I think will stick with me. And it's the visual of all those white papers flying in the breeze. Right. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is we know that there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses, right. Insurance businesses mostly, and you think of insurance papers, and the thing you said was there had to have been love letters, mm-hmm. Dear John letters perhaps, divorce decrees perhaps, very, very personal things. That's as well. Right. And is there a way that you were able to, I don't know how in the hell you would, but is there a way you were able to incorporate that into your work? That those emotions, feelings?
I think I did. First of all, I incorporated the image of all this sort of blizzard of very delicate, paper coming down from almost a mile in the sky. But the text, as I said, it's like a fractal. They're just little tiny things. Well, I found these little memorials. I found them in all kinds of different places. One was in the New York Times, Portraits of Grief. Every day for 2 years, the New York Times wrote these little 2 or 3 paragraph memories of each person. And I put a sort of ritual prelude to each one of the phrases. The sister says, the father says, the mother says. So the chorus sings, the sister says, he was the apple of my father's eye. The father says, I am so full of grief, my heart is absolutely shattered. The young man says, he was tall, extremely good-looking, and girls never talked to me when he was around. The sister says, she had a voice like an angel, and she shared it with everyone in good times or bad. The mother says, he used to call me every day, I'm just waiting. This is a beautiful one. The lover says, tomorrow will be 3 months, yet it feels like yesterday since I saw your beautiful face saying, love you to the moon and back. And then the most disturbing of all, the man's wife said, I loved him from the start. I wanted to dig him out. I know just where he is.
And you also said, I read where the phrase, words can't describe. And when we go through times like these grieving times like this, you don't worry about being eloquent. You just get a point across. It's simple and to the point.
Well, it's a very American thing in a way. That we're not as absolutely exquisitely articulate, let's say, as the English are, but we as Americans do have a way of saying important things in very simple ways. I think of Robert Frost, for example, or even Jack Kerouac. There's a plainness to the spoken American language which very much appeals to me. And I go back and forth about this piece. Sometimes it's not my favorite piece. Sometimes I think, it's a little too sentimental. But then, I have an experience like last night. I came in to work with the May Festival Chorus for the first time. And I felt really good about the text. I thought that there's no piece anywhere that I know of that uses this kind of text, real text, not a poem, not a libretto, but just something that actual real people said. And I think if for the text alone, this piece will have a fairly good shelf life.
Should we move on to Big Sur?
Well, I have one more question. As a composer, as an artist, how have you felt about the reaction to this piece?
Well, the reaction has been basically positive. It hasn't been overwhelming, over the top, but it's not that kind of piece. It's a very introverted, not entirely accessible piece. It's certainly not my number one most accessible piece. And, you know, there were several family members in the audience who were invited by the New York Philharmonic to the premiere. And they were obviously not people who knew Stravinsky or Charles Ives or certainly me. And I think that they were moved by the fact that someone had made a work of art around their loved ones. But I could tell they were probably a little mystified by the piece. You do need to know, you know, your repertoire. You need to know where this comes from. You need to be able to recognize the fact that the unanswered question of Charles Ives keeps poking out through the surface of the music. You can appreciate it without knowing these things, but obviously it helps to know them. I'm pleased that the piece continues to get performed by orchestras around the country. You know, it was a piece written for a specific event, and very often those pieces, they get one performance and then they never get taken on. I was hoping it would be like Benjamin Britten's War Requiem, which was written to celebrate the rebuilding of the Coventry Cathedral. And of course now, you know, it's one of the great repertory items in the world. I don't think this piece will ever be at the level of popularity of the War Requiem, but it will, I hope, have a future.